Okay, hello. Hopefully you all are seeing this. Looks like it's working. Excellent. Okay. All right, so we are indeed starting the party a little bit early, about 3 minutes early, and that's just to give all of our authors who are joining us tonight a little bit of time to pop on in and get all settled, for you guys to grab your copy of Christy if you don't have it yet. Definitely, if you do have a copy, bring it with you, because there will be a trivia quiz and we will be giving away some prizes, but I'll go over those details again the top of the hour when we go ahead and go live. So welcome everyone. I'm just gonna pop the link to this video over in the event section so that everybody knows where they need to go. So hang tight with us and we'll get started here in about 2 minutes. All right. To quote Matthew McConaughey, all right, all right, all right. All right, I see some of our special guests tonight making their way into kind of the waiting area. So I'm so excited for you guys to be able to chat with everybody. Thank you guys. Glad everything is working. All right, so still got about another minute here, and if you have friends who are readers and you think that they would love Christy and you know that they have never read it before, or maybe they have read it and they just haven't seen it for, or not seen it, they haven't read it for a little while, go ahead and tag them in the comment section so that they'll go ahead and join us, because we would love to see lots of people here. All right. Hi, Christy. Hi, Colleen. Oh my goodness, everybody's joining in now. Jordan from Gilead is here. Aubrey, Brenda, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited. Michelle's joining us from Colorado. Excellent. Hi, Kathleen. It's good to see everybody, to see some familiar faces. All right, so people will still be joining us here for a little while as people make their way in. You know, we'll be talking, but I will be posting reminders throughout the night tonight of what we've talked about here at the beginning, so that if you missed any information or if anybody asks, you know, we'll be able to fill them in on anything they've missed here at the beginning. So thank you guys so much for coming to the Christy Facebook Live party tonight. We're so excited. And on behalf of Gilead Publishing and also Litfuse, we're so glad that you could join the fun this evening. And my name's Caitlin. I'm the Director of Operations for Litfuse, and I've been working for Litfuse for a little more than 5 years now. So it's always so fun to be able to go live and connect with bloggers and readers that we've had relationships with for a while. And we have some very special guests with us tonight, but I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But I wanted to let you guys know that if you haven't read the book yet, or if you have not had a copy yet, we are going to be giving away some copies throughout the night tonight. So this right here, you could possibly win a copy. So we will actually be picking those winners randomly based on participation. So participate in the trivia questions, even if you don't know the answers, that's okay. Participate in the discussion, even if you've never read the book. I think that we've included some really, really great questions that anybody can hopefully answer. And also be sure to stick around until the end of the party, because that's when we will announce the winners of the $50 Visa cash card giveaway that we're doing. We're giving away two $50 Visa cash cards to celebrate, of course, the 50th anniversary of Christy being released. So let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that link into the comment section there. So if you are just joining us, hopefully that popped in there. If not, oh, it did. There we go. Okay, so if you are just now joining us, be sure to look at that link that I just posted as Litfuse Publicity Group, because you will have the chance to enter to win one of two $50 Visa cash cards to celebrate Christy's 50th anniversary. Very exciting. And also, I wanted to let you guys know that my colleague Audra Jennings is joining us tonight in the comment section, and she'll be the one who's handing out prizes tonight. So be on the lookout for those announcements from her. She will be randomly announcing your name and what you've won tonight. We will also be announcing all of those in a blog post after the party finishes tonight. So if you happen to miss your name and you just want to double check to see if you won anything, we will be posting a link to that blog post after it goes live. And if you have any questions tonight, you know, I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on the comment section. But if you have any questions too, let Audra know. Her name's Audra Jennings again. She will be able to help you out too if you have any questions. So I wish you guys could see what I'm seeing right now, because we have some very special guests on the other end who are just waiting to talk to you guys and to talk to you about this incredible book. And so we have Cynthia Ruchti waiting in the wings, along with a few others. We have Rachel Hauck, Kim Vogel Sawyer, Katherine Reay, and Suzanne Woods Fisher. Hopefully she'll show up soon. She hasn't logged in quite yet, but if not, we will, you know, we'll make do. We'll miss her dearly if she isn't here, but hopefully, fingers crossed, she's here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get things started. First, I want you guys to tell me how old you were when you first read Christy. You know, maybe you haven't read the book and you've only seen the TV series. Let me know how old you were when you either read Christy or saw the TV series. So go ahead and put those in the comments below. And remember, if you participate, your name will be seen, and then you might randomly be drawn to win a book. If you hear silence a little bit too, it's because I'm reading through some of these comments, and I hope to be able to read through some of them on here live. Let's see. Rachel Martin said she was 15. So did Shanna Moore. Linda said that she was 40 when she first read Christy. Jordan from Gilead said 32. Nancy Whitaker, 61. Wow, there's quite the age range here. That's incredible. But I think that really speaks to the timelessness of the book and of its message and its themes. So we'll get into that a little bit more later, but thank you guys for responding. And yeah, continue to leave a comment about how old you were when you first read Christy, or when you first saw the TV series, or maybe when you just heard about the book. All right, so a little bit of background. Catherine Marshall wrote Christy. It was originally released in 1967 and, of course, now celebrating its 50th anniversary with the release of the new hardcover edition, which I have right here. Really, really beautiful book. Quite a thick book, too. If you're into reading, I think you'll really enjoy it. But its first ever time being released as an ebook is this year, too. So that's so exciting. So if you are an avid iPad user or Kindle or Nook user or something like that, and you just cannot stand the thought, oh my goodness, of having to hold a physical book in your hands, you can actually get this on your ebook now as well. So that's really exciting. The book was based on Catherine Marshall's mother's life, and the story is one of determination, devotion, and commitment to making a difference in the world. So the train taking 19-year-old Christy Huddleston from her home in Asheville, North Carolina, might as well be transporting her to another world. The Smoky Mountain community of Cutter Gap feels suspended in time, trapped by poverty, superstitions, and century-old traditions. But as Christy struggles to find acceptance in her new home, some see her and her one-room school as a threat to their way of life. Her faith is challenged, and her heart is torn between two strong men with conflicting views about how to care for the families of the Cove. Yearning to make a difference, will Christy's determination and devotion be strong enough? So that's a little bit about the book. It's a back cover copy, and of course there are many, many characters in here that I think that you'll fall in love with if you choose to read the book or reread it if you've already read it before. But Christy actually landed on the New York Times bestsellers list on November 5th of 1967. And since then, more than 10 million copies have been sold worldwide. It's incredible. The book really did blaze a trail for the new Christian fiction genre. And in 1994, even more families were introduced to Christy and to the works of Catherine Marshall when the book itself inspired a CBS television movie pilot starring Kelly Martin that was so well received that it became its own TV series. So that's pretty incredible. And some of our authors tonight will be speaking to just how impactful this book was at blazing a trail for the genre we now know as Christian fiction. So Gilead Publishing recently created a fantastic book trailer to reintroduce Christy to old readers and to introduce Christy to new readers. And so right now, if you guys will give me 2 seconds, I'm going to paste the link into the comment section so that you can bookmark it if you want to watch it later. And it's a really, really cool book trailer. So definitely give that a watch later on. Or if you do want to pause this live webcast, you can do that too. Take 2 minutes. Take 2 minutes to watch it. All right, I'm just going to go through the comments here. Make sure everybody's doing well. Oh, yes. So glad to see you all here. A few people named Christy are here. Hopefully that won't get too confusing. Oh, Jeffrey said, you cannot love if you cannot hold in regard to physical books. So, touche, Jeffrey, touche. Yeah, and yeah, the book cover is really incredible. It's a very nostalgic looking book, and I think they did a great job with the re-release of it. Okay, so now is the time for you guys to kind of jump in and participate a little bit more. So when Christy was re-released this year for the 50th anniversary edition, was it your first time reading the book, or had you read it before? And had you seen the TV series first without reading the book? So go ahead and answer that question. And we're truly curious to find out, you know, just how many people had actually ended up reading the book long before the TV series came out or even the 50th anniversary edition. Let's see, Nancy Whitaker said that she saw the TV series first, which then prompted her to read the book. Yeah. Neetha, I hope I'm saying your name right. She said she read the book first, and Marilyn read the book back in 1971. Few people have seen the TV series but haven't read the book yet. Hopefully you'll win a copy tonight. That would be good. All right. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for your participation. So I have some exciting news. So tonight we are going to be doing some trivia questions throughout the night tonight. And we are going to be doing 8 of those trivia questions, and we will pick 2 people to win a $25 Amazon gift card at the end of the night tonight. And once again, Audra is the announcer and the keeper of all of the winners, and so be on the lookout for a post from her at the end of the night tonight saying that, you know, who won the trivia contest. So keep an eye out for that. But again, 8 questions. They will be kind of scattered throughout the evening tonight, and go ahead and put your answer in the comment section. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. The first question, and we thought that we would start this off and, you know, just make it a little bit easy for you guys so you're feeling confident, you're feeling good. All right, so the first question is, what Christian book awards were inspired by Catherine Marshall's book? Again, that is, what Christian book awards were inspired by Catherine Marshall's book? And don't be afraid to chime in with your answer to the comment section, because that will enter you into the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Seeing some answers. Seeing some answers, excellent. Keep those coming. All right, one last time, I'll repeat it. What Christian book awards were inspired by Catherine Marshall's book? This is the only easy question you guys get tonight. Just kidding. If you've read the book, it should be good. All right, question number 2. Question number 2. What does Mountie, who has a speech defect, say clear as day to Christy? This one you might have to look in your book for. Or if you are really good at doing a little bit of typing online, I'm sure that you can find the answer to this too. Yeah, what does Mountie, who has a speech defect, say clear as day to Christy in the book? I'm loving seeing your answers. You guys are awesome. Also, some of our authors tonight who will be live with us in a few minutes are chiming in. So see Katherine Reay commenting, Kim Vogel Sawyer's commenting. So be sure to say hi to them. And Cynthia Ruchti and Rachel Hauck are also here with us. And they're very patiently waiting for their time to come. So be sure to say hi to them while you wait. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, Rachel's here. She said she's lurking. So So I'm going to go ahead and read those 2 trivia questions one more time, just in case you missed them. So, what Christian book awards were inspired by Catherine Marshall's book? That's question number 1. And question number 2 is, what does Mountie, who has a speech defect, say clear as day to Christy? Go ahead and get your answers in. All right, so one question that we have for you guys, and you don't have to have read Christy in order to answer this or anything like that. This is just kind of a freebie discussion question. So if you had to leave your family and volunteer somewhere for an entire year, where would you go? Where do you feel like God might call you to go? Would it be overseas? Would it be here in the US? And again, that's a personal question. So you don't have to have read the book in order to answer that. So if you had to leave your family and volunteer somewhere for an entire year, where would you go? Or where where do you feel God might have called you to go? Cynthia says, is Hawaii a wrong answer? No, it is not, Cynthia. It's a very good answer. Rachel, I love your answer too. Rachel said, I think he might call me to be a princess in a royal palace. Like Meghan Markle, right? That would be pretty life-changing. Kathleen says that she would go to Belize, to a missionary family that they know. Oh, Rachel Martin says Japan. Very interesting. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be international. It can be here in the US too. So we're just curious what your answer is. Your answers are very, very good. Thank you guys for sharing all of that. Colleen says that she would go to Nicaragua with her brother and family who are serving there. Got a few South Americas, somewhere in the mountains. Sounds like Christy. Very, very good. All right, you guys can keep on answering that question. We'll be reading through your comments throughout the night tonight, but I wanted to bring on our first official author tonight, and I'm sure that you guys all know Kim Vogel Sawyer and her books, and we are just so excited to have you with us, Kim. Let me add you to the broadcast here really quickly. We'll make sure that you're working. Okay. Hey, Kim, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so thrilled that you're here, and yeah, and that you love Christy just as much as the rest of us do. So that's wonderful. Okay, so I have a few questions for you. So how old were you when you were first introduced to Christy, and was it through the book or the TV series that you were introduced to her story?
Absolutely, the book. I received it for Christmas the year I was a junior in high school. And so that was the first time I read it, and I've read it at least 20 times since then. It's just one of those books that you can read over and over and over again. It speaks to you every time.
Yeah, very true. Have you shared it with any of your kids or grandkids?
Oh, yes. All 3 of my daughters, and my oldest granddaughter will probably be receiving a copy next year for Christmas.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's so good. So who was your favorite character? If you can pick one, you might have to choose a few, but who were some of your favorites?
I have to go with Fairlight Spencer. I absolutely love that lady. And to this day, I'll just randomly think about her and the joy that she found in learning to read, and just the character that she was, the purity and the childlike faith that she had just really has stuck with me.
That's wonderful. What sort of super important lesson did you take away from the book? And I mean, you said you've read it multiple times, so you might have taken away a different lesson every time you've read it because it's that kind of book.
Well, I was a teacher for many years, and one of the things that Christy did was she just followed her instincts with the kids. She didn't teach from books. She taught from her heart. And so when I was in the classroom, that was one of the things that I incorporated in my classroom was that just following my instincts with the kids and then also connecting with the kids. You know, those children were so hungry for touch. And in this day and age, you know, we have to be kind of cautious, but I instigated the 3H rule in my classroom. The kids had a choice. When they came through the door in the morning, they could give me a handshake, a high five, or a hug.
I love that.
We greeted, and then we did the same thing when they left for the day. And so, you know, there was just some real inspiration that I took from that in her manner of teaching and reaching those children.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So how long were you a teacher for again?
11 years.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Thank you for doing that. I know that that is not an easy job. Good. Good. It takes that kind of person. You have to love the job in order to do it well. So that's great. That's great. So as a writer, how has Christy affected your writing style, your books?
Well, the first time I read it, of course, I've always wanted to be a writer, but the first time I read it, the thing that really struck me is how she absorbed me in that world. I wasn't just reading about it. I was a part of it. The sensory imaging was so rich. I could see and feel and taste and touch, and it was wonderful. And so when I began writing professionally, that became a goal of mine, is to try to invite the reader into the world I was creating and make it as real and sensory rich for them as it is for the characters. I mean, she's an incredible writer. She is just an incredible writer. It's a lot to live up to.
Yes, yes. And easier said than done, as I'm sure that you've experienced. Good. So, you know, we talked a little bit about how Christy kind of paved the way for Christian fiction as a genre. And now there's an entire, you know, portion of the publishing industry as a whole dedicated to that. So how have you seen Christy affect the publishing industry as a whole?
Well, I think just the popularity of it kind of let publishers know that this is a genre that could sell, that it was something that would speak to readers. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding right here. It's been strong for 50 years. So obviously there are readers out there that want these kinds of wholesome, speak to the heart, incorporating faith kinds of books. And I'm so glad that she put that out there, presented it to publishers, and that publishers took a chance on it, because it truly did open the door for the rest of us.
Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, I know it's crazy to think how different our lives might have been had, you know, that book never been published or, you know, never been read by 10 million people at this point. So yeah, thank you so much for your input, Kim. And I hope that, you know, you pass along Christy to your grandchild next year. Well, thank you so much again for joining us, and I'm going to pop you off screen now. Thank you again. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, thank you to Kim for joining us tonight. We're so thankful that you were able to be here. And I'm just looking through the comment section now. Oh, Kim, someone said, what grade did you teach? So if you could pop that in the comment section, that would be great. I forgot to ask that, Kathleen. Thank you. Oh, Anne said that she's going to give her granddaughter a copy of the book this year for Christmas. That's such a good idea. My grandma was the one who introduced me to Christy. She, of course, loved the book, and so I read it when I was younger, and then I do remember watching the TV series a few years after it had come out, because I was still fairly young when it initially debuted on TV. But it's a powerful story, and, you know, I think it speaks to the fact that, you know, my grandmother loved it, my mom has read it and loved it, and I love it, and one day I will definitely be passing that along to my daughter and my future grandchildren. So it's truly a timeless book. All right, so let's go ahead and jump back into 2 more trivia questions. All right, so again, if you're just joining us, we are giving away 2 $25 Amazon gift cards tonight to people who participate and answer correctly in the trivia portion of this. But that's not all we're giving away. We're giving away copies of the book. Yay! So all you have to do to enter to win copies of the book is just to participate, chat, comment, ask questions. We are still going to be speaking with 3 other authors tonight, and so feel free to ask them some questions too. We do have some people joining us from Gilead Publishing, who they are the ones who, re-released the 50th anniversary edition of this book. And so be sure to, if you have any questions for them, you can put those in the comment section as well. That would be really great. Also, if you are interested, you can actually go to christybook.com, and this is just a website that Gilead has put together, and you can actually download a free map of Cutter Gap there, which is fun. And if you're watching it with, or you're reading the book with a grandchild, a child, whatever it may be, that could be a really, really great way to, kind of help them visualize Christy's world. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that link in the comment section if you're interested in learning more about that. Oh, Suzanne joined us. Hello, Suzanne. All right. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, back to the trivia. All right. So what Bible story does Miss Alice use to illustrate that Jesus cares for the people of Cutter Gap? Go ahead and pop your answers in the comment section. Again, that's what Bible story does Miss Alice use to illustrate that Jesus cares for the people of Cutter Gap? And if you don't know the answer, you can always look it up in your book. Or there's this really handy tool called Google. But we do hope that if you haven't read the book yet, that you will take the opportunity to do so. All right, so one more time, question number 3 for the trivia is, what Bible story does Miss Alice use to illustrate that Jesus cares for the people of Cutter Gap? All right, trivia question number 4. What dangerous, life-threatening illness hits the Cutter Gap community? Question number 4 for the trivia is, what dangerous, life-threatening illness hits the Cutter Gap community? Seeing some answers. Seeing some answers. I won't say if they're correct or not, but you guys are on the right path. Very good. So, okay, one more time, those 2 questions, questions number 3 and 4 in tonight's trivia are, what Bible story does Miss Alice use to illustrate that Jesus cares for the people of Cutter Gap? And what dangerous, life-threatening illness hits the Cutter Gap community? And after you finish answering those, we just want to know who your favorite character is in Christy. So go ahead and pop that person's name, or maybe, you have a few favorite characters. I understand. Go ahead and pop those answers in the comment section, and we'll be looking through those. And we're just, again, interested in your answers. There's no particular prize for this question. It's not part of the trivia, but we're interested to know. All right, so I'm going to try something tricky here. And I think I'm going to bring on 2 authors, if I may. I'm going to bring on Cynthia Ruchti. So I'm going to go ahead and add her to the broadcast. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello.
Hello. All right. We're so glad that you could join us tonight. Thank you. Of
It's my joy.
course. Of course. Good, good. All right. And then if it's okay with everybody, we're going to add Suzanne in here too. And we'll just go ahead and, talk a little bit about Christy with you guys as well. Let me change the format here so it's not quite so boxy. There we go.
Hi, Suzanne.
Yeah, how are you?
Great. Good to see you again.
I know, it's fun to connect. We're connecting.
Thank you so much for joining us, Suzanne. We're so excited that you could be here. We appreciate it a lot. Okay, so, I have just a few questions for you guys. How old were you when you were first introduced to Christy? And was it through the book or the TV series that you were introduced to her and her story?
So, Cynthia, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm not telling that.
You go ahead. You go first.
I first read it as a young mom, but it was on our bookshelf at home for a long time before that. And I found my original copy of that. This is the 1968 edition of it. This probably the second reprinting or maybe the third reprinting of it already. And that also means that there are parts of the story that seem brand new to me as I go back in and reread it now in the new edition.
That's wonderful.
And then okay, so interestingly enough, I probably got introduced to Katherine Marshall before I got introduced to Christy. Christy came later for me. And one of the first books I ever read, I actually pulled it out of my bookshelf, is The Helper by Katherine Marshall. All about the Holy Spirit, 40 chapters about the Holy Spirit. So interesting. And if I can actually tell a little story, and Cynthia, please interrupt because I don't want to take.
It's fine.
But my grandfather was involved with Peter Marshall way back when he was preaching and driving himself very hard. He was talk about a type A personality. I think Peter Marshall was a really dynamic man, and he was. I mean, as you know, he had heart trouble and that kind of thing, and that never stopped him. But he also was, in the 40s, one of the first preachers to start really talking about the Holy Spirit in a very real, tangible way. And there was one time when my grandfather brought him up from Washington, D.C. to his church in the Philadelphia area and met with him, had him on the train, put him back late that night after he preached all day on the train, and back he went. And I remember just the story of him just going. And you see that in her nonfiction books. You kind of see just the whole picture of what her life was like. I just think the Marshalls are just incredible people. They were really a very special couple. And her books, the other one that I probably read next was then, A Man Called Peter, which was so good. She wrote that right after he had died. But Christy came later for me. And it's a beautiful story. It's such a significant, her attention to detail, which I think was consistent of her personality. She was really detailed. So anyway, okay, back to you, Cynthia. I'm softballing it back.
So Cynthia, when you read the book as a young mom, how did it speak to you? What sorts of lessons did you learn from that might be different from people who are reading it as a teenager or, much older in life?
I think one of the things that strikes me, even as I'm going back through the book again now, I intentionally doing that, I realize that some of the principles that were in the book, I'm incorporating without even realizing that they came from that source. Some of the ways of looking beyond the surface way of looking at people when you first meet them, and listening to their heart, like Christy did in the book. Trying to find and even her desire to make a difference. I always had a strong desire like that too. And I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to happen. In my younger days, I thought, and even before I became a new mom or a young mom, I thought that might be serving as a missionary in China. And then I thought it might be running an orphanage in Mexico. I had these dreams, and instead God assigned me to write books where some of my characters might be doing those kinds of things, but as I'm rereading Christy now, I'm seeing that I'm applying some of those life lessons that were taught through that book without even having realized it or recognized it. But certainly resiliency and endurance are two of the primary ones that stick with me.
Mm. What about you, Suzanne?
I actually have a trivia question because it kind of fits with a little part of the story that I've never forgotten. And it was where Miss Alice used to plant a certain plant outside, or either outside or in her cottage, to kind of inspire the women of Appalachia to sort of have a home, you know, and bring beauty. And I've never forgotten it because it was such a small example, but such a powerful one. So the trivia question is, what was that plant? Who can remember that? Do you know it? Caitlin, do you know?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Oh, do I have to tell?
Yeah, well, if you want.
I'm pretty sure. Should I? Or should we see if someone knows?
Let's see if someone knows.
But I love that modeling, you know, just that simple way of just showing people in your neighborhood how to do something a little better, a little different.
I was impressed with that too, about Miss Alice's desire to create beauty and color in a place that was very colorless at the time. And sometimes we all find ourselves in a place like that, where it seems like the sky is gray, the ground is gray, our life is gray, our thoughts are gray, just everything is gray. And her consciousness of the need to put beauty and color, even if you don't have great financial resources, that there are ways to do that, and the importance of that to the human soul. I was impressed by that too.
She said that so much better than I did. So good. I have to read the book, Cynthia.
Mutual admiration society here.
Okay, so favorite characters, if you can pick one or two.
You go ahead, Suzanne.
Well, Opal was pretty special. You know, she was just such a beautiful. And then Dr. McNeil's kind of hard. I'm not sure I was crazy about the character in the TV show. I loved him just who he was, but the actress that played Christy just has such a youngness about her, and they brought in this older Scottish man. It just didn't seem. I don't know. Am I alone in that? Did you disagree?
No, I mean, from what I remember of the TV series, I don't think you're wrong. Comparing it to, you know, the book. I'll have to rewatch the TV series again too, now that we're talking about it. Now I'm curious. I don't particularly.
Someone says, yes, I'm alone. Nancy would... Okay.
Deanna Moore said, what? I loved him.
Okay, I'm sorry. I really did. I just wasn't sure that they worked exactly, you know, this young girl with sort of a fisherman kind of a cap. Well, okay, I'll stop talking.
So, you know, Cynthia, you kind of talked about how Katherine Marshall's lessons and the way that she writes have impacted you even as you're writing. But, you know, for both of you, how have you seen Christy affect, you know, your writing, books in general, and even the Christian publishing industry as a whole?
I'm underlining this time through. I didn't dare underline when I was reading as a younger person, but now I do that because maybe to jog my memory. But one of the lines I wrote down from early in the book that I underlined was, "It was a strange wind, a whimpering, sobbing wind with pain in it." And that was when she had just gotten to that area, or was just getting to that area. And I thought, to write lines like that use simple words, really pretty simple words, to communicate a depth of meaning that tugs at the heart emotionally. And she did that throughout. It wasn't that every line of dialogue was elegant, certainly not in that atmosphere, but she was able to express emotionally things so elegantly. And that's something that I would aspire to also, just because it it puts an excellence in storytelling. That's part of what we've been talking about all night, about drawing us in to the story. So we're living it and feeling it. Certainly with a word picture like that, we can. And then generally speaking, in the marketplace, I think that one of the things that it's proven to us is that after all these years, and there are new generations of people now reading that story, they're realizing that truth is timeless, that the fact that there's a durability of this story and that millennials can read it and realize that Christy was wrestling with some of the same things they are today, or that I am today at my age now. That really proves the power of storytelling, and I think that what she established. Only God can tell her, but it has paved a way for all of us to realize that if we are zeroing in on the power of story, that we're going to be reaching people. And certainly, Suzanne, that is what happens with your stories too. And you do that so naturally and beautifully.
Thank you. Right back at you. You've got a wonderful way of saying things. In fact, I almost wish I was writing some things down. Your comment about almost an economy of words that Katherine Marshall used, even though it was a big novel. I mean, I wonder how big it was. I'm guessing probably like 125,000 words or more. But she just had a wonderful ability to create a community of real people, and using dialogue, which is so hard to do. This was her first novel. Isn't that amazing to think what she started just by the call to write and the love to write? So,
and our understanding of a different culture from our own, and to be able to read it in the book and feel like by the time we got done with the book, we understood people unlike ourselves much better.
Yeah, and understood that the superstitions and how they really got caught up in so much fear. Do you remember the horrible moment? I'll never forget this. Of the mother who had the newborn baby, and there was a superstition of bending the leg back, and the baby died. And it's hard to imagine that, and yet that's the culture she was walking into, sort of fearful and ignorant and frightened, and yet they loved their children, and they were trying to do the best they could.
That's another thing of the lessons that I grabbed from it was that a joyless faith is an uninformed faith, or is a false faith, that the superstition and the fear had created a different version of the faith that God has been expressing in his word.
Well, you guys are clearly writers because you both speak so beautifully.
I feel like it's stumbling, but I have a girlfriend who actually named her daughter Christy after the novel. And I wonder, that's another question to throw out there, is how many Christies do we think came out of that, inspired by that character?
That's a great question. It really is.
Okay, so should I give you the Trivial Pursuit answer before?
Yes, okay. Please do.
I may be wrong, but I think the flower that Miss Alice planted was just the humble geranium.
Oh.
Just a red geranium. But if anyone who's online thinks I'm wrong, go ahead and find it for us, because I might be wrong.
Oh, well, Suzanne and Cynthia, thank you guys so much for sharing your hearts with us and for giving us a little bit of insight into how Christy has impacted you guys. And we are just so thankful that you guys were able to pop in tonight. So thank you.
Our joy.
All right, I'm going to pop you off screen really quickly. There we go. All right, so let's see. Has anybody said if Suzanne's answer was right? I don't remember that. Shame on me. I need to read it third time. There we go. Okay, so before we talk to our next author, let's go ahead and do 2 more trivia questions. These are questions 5 and 6. So which friend of Christy's taught her how to enjoy life and use her time differently? Hopefully I'm not stuck on screen, so if I am, sorry about that. I think I just got unstuck. Again, that trivia question is, Which friend of Christy's taught her how to enjoy life and use her time differently? And then the next question is, how many copies of Christy have been sold? I actually said the answer earlier if you were paying attention. How many copies of Christy have been sold? So one more time, those two questions are, which friend of Christy's taught her how to enjoy life and use time differently? And how many copies of Christy have been sold? Seeing some good answers here. All right, so next up, I'm excited to bring her on screen. I would like everybody to say hi to Katherine Reay. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on screen. Hello.
Hi. I don't know if I'm on screen yet.
Yep, you are.
I am. Okay.
Yep, you're good.
my first live event, I like hung up on everybody because I wasn't sure. So I'm glad you can tell me that I'm there.
Yep, you are. You're good to go. Don't worry.
Excellent.
We've all had moments like that. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And, you know, in similar fashion to some of the other questions that have been asked tonight, you know, how old were you when you read Christy? And was it the book or the TV series that you know, were first introduced to her?
Okay, I was young when I first read her. I was about 12 or 13 years old. My mom had already given me Pride and Prejudice, and I read that and loved it. So she had some, you know, some credibility with me. So when she gave me Christy, I read it right away, and I absolutely loved it. And unlike you, I think you said you were young when the show came out. I was a little bit older, and so I was an adult then. And so I saw it when it first came out in, I think, 94.
Very good. And do you remember, did you compare it a lot to the book when you first saw it?
You know, I did, but enough time had passed that I wasn't disappointed. You know, for my own books, for instance, I make sure there are no people on the covers because I create visually in my head what I expect these people to be. And enough time had elapsed that I was not disappointed by Neil McNeil. And I thought Kelly Martin was fantastic. She is what I envisioned Christy to be. So I liked all the characters. Very good, very good.
Speaking of characters, who was one of your favorites, or you can pick a few if you want?
Okay, so my absolute favorite was Fairlight Spencer, and I know she's been mentioned, but I have always been drawn to people who chase joy. And she did that over and over again. She saw things differently. She sort of inspired other people. Think outside the box, chase joy, chase beauty. And I loved that. I found her inspirational in both the series and in the book.
Definitely. Yeah. And she's my favorite character too. So very good. What is one of the most poignant lessons that you have learned from reading Christy? I don't know, how many times have you read it? Has it, you know, changed every time that you've read it?
You know, I have only read it probably 2.5 times. I got sidetracked on the third time and had to put it down. In the last reading, I think I was 19 years old. It was during summer between freshman and sophomore year in college. Yes, it did change from 12 to 19 in that I started noticing the dimensionality of her characters. Nobody was two-dimensional. As a reader, I love that because everybody was real and I could relate to the good and bad. Nobody's all good. Nobody's all bad. We're this wonderful mixture. And to convey that on the page was very powerful. So I think that is what sort of I carry away is this three-dimensionality and full story that she wrote. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's timeless. And there's a reason for that too.
Exactly.
So how have you been able to see how Christy might have affected the way that you write as an author? You know, how has it affected the publishing industry as a whole?
Okay. First, me as an author, I don't believe in two-dimensional characters. If I can keep if I can keep everybody, even the most ancillary, secondary, minor character, give them a little art, give them a moment of change, I like to do that. And I think part of that is from Christy, that there were, no throwaway people. Everybody, had these dimensions to them. So that as a writer is really important to me. As for the industry, she created a space for those of us who write faith-based fiction to be taken very seriously, which is great. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I don't know that, launching into the New York Times bestseller list, that, I don't know, you might say she put us all on the map, and she allowed us to get in there. And as I think it was, was it Cynthia or Suzanne? They both said so many beautiful things, but one of them said, truth resonates. Mm-hmm. And she showed that in 10 million copies, truth resonates. And that's really a beautiful thing. So we can all hope for that with our stories.
Yes, that's so true. That is so true. And I think that you never know what God can do with mere words just on pages. You never know, what sort of love can be conveyed. And like you said, and Suzanne or Cynthia said, truth as well. So
that's a beautiful thing about books, is that it is words conveyed on a page and then a reader absorbs them, and it's a conversation. And that is part of the power of Christy also, really, because it's a beautiful conversation that the reader takes away. And I know I'm talking too much, so I will quit in a second. But part of that is why I think it's resonating with generations now and readers now, is that the experiences and the emotions are timeless. Whether you are in Appalachia at that time, or whether you were, studying in a university now, or you're struggling with your first job out of high school, you experience those same fears, insecurities, those needs to reach out, to be accepted, to be understood. So it was timeless.
Yeah, that's so true. And no, you're good. And I mean, regardless of your faith too, whether you know who Jesus is or whether you've never heard of him before. I mean, I think that really, it hits your soul in such a way that, other things don't. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Katherine.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me here.
Of course. So I'm going to pop you off screen now.
Perfect.
Thank you again. Bye. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. We still have a few minutes left, and we do have one special guest left who has been so patiently waiting. So thank you, Rachel Hauck, for waiting. We'll get to her in just a few minutes, but I wanted to post the final 2 trivia questions so that we can pick a few winners. So question number 7, what date did Christy first land on the New York Times bestsellers list? What date did this book, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, land on the New York Times bestsellers list? And I'll give you a hint. It's not 2017. So go ahead and put that answer into the comment section, and my colleague Audra will be scouting for some correct answers. And yes, you don't have to give the full date if you don't want. Bonus points if you do. If you want to just give the year, that is a-okay too. But I did mention it earlier. All right, then the final question of the evening, but not the final author that we'll be speaking to. Who is the oldest woman in the Cove? Who is the oldest woman in the Cove? So, again, those 2 questions are, what date did Christy first land on the New York Times bestsellers list? See some pretty good answers coming in right now. And who is the oldest woman in the Cove? And if you want a hint about that, it is toward the beginning of the book. So if you have a copy of the book with you, you might just want to, kind of flip through the first few pages. You might find some helpful information there. Oh, and Tamara Alexander just joined us. Hi, we're so glad you could join us. All right, so I'm so excited because our final special guest tonight is here, and she has been waiting oh so patiently for tonight. So I'm very happy to bring on screen Rachel Hauck, and I'll go ahead and put her up here. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Isn't this fun?
It is so fun. It is so fun. I love technology when it works very well, you know?
Right. I do. Not when it doesn't work well.
Yeah. Then it's like, oh, technology, we don't really need it, right?
Well, what would we do without it, though?
Yes, that's so true. Well, Rachel, why don't you go ahead and tell us how old you were when you first read Christy?
It's been so long, you guys. I feel like some of the people out there who are like, man, I haven't read this book or I've forgotten. And I hate to say that because I know it's such a beautiful book and I've loved hearing everyone talk tonight. But I was probably a teenager when I first came across the book. But Suzanne stole some of my comments that I was going to make because I remember more of the book The Helper. That was a big deal in my church when I was a young woman and my parents were reading it. I think I took a few peeks at it myself. And I also remember Julie almost as much as I remember Christy. And then I remember the television series. But after my experience with Little House on the Prairie and how the television show never matched the book, I never went for the series. so yeah, anyway. So yeah, as a young woman. And again, I'm so happy to have that beautiful cover copy. It was a gift from Gilead to some of us at the Christy Awards this year. And I dived into it last night. I said, I need to get back to this book. So if you haven't read it in a while or you haven't read it at all, let me recommend it. And I was just enthralled, just reading the opening, and I couldn't wait to get back to it. So
yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that you have one of the updated copies. So that's good.
Gorgeous.
Yes, it really is. And you mentioned Julie. Gilead is actually, they've redone the cover of it too. And so, yeah, well, I'll be posting a link to that in a few minutes, but it's really beautiful, really beautiful.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I actually have, my first copy was that one that Cynthia showed of the woman in the long dress, the long skirt on the mountaintop. That was the copy that I had. And I think I toted it around with me in all of my college moves and all of my apartment moves, and somewhere along the way it got lost. So
you'll have to find it again. Yeah.
I want to say I was thinking about this, and we were as various authors were talking, and I really think that Christy could be the Pride and Prejudice of our time. You know, so 100 years or 200 years from now, we're already 50 years down the line, still reading and applauding this book. And wouldn't it be great to have a Christian author and a woman as stellar as Catherine Marshall to have written the next generation's Pride and Prejudice and introduce people to the social ways in America. Why we love Pride and Prejudice is it looks at society in England, and it looks at social status, and it looks at, you know, a man with means, how he finds a wife, or he must be in want of a wife, where when we're looking at the Appalachia, and we're looking at what Catherine's mother did, we're looking at a way of life in America. We're looking at society. We're looking at the constructs of people. And in many ways, it's still like that if you live in that area of the country. Very much society lines, you know, they're cold to outsiders. They have to get to know you. So I love the idea of how Katherine created a book that might be timeless.
Yeah. I would never have thought to kind of draw that sort of comparison with Pride and Prejudice, but I love that. And I think that is so true. And, you know, God definitely has the power to, you know, continue to speak to people through this book. So 200 years from now, who knows?
Exactly.
We'll be long gone, but you never know. The book can still be here and be really powerful.
Yeah, well, it's still here 50 years later, which I think is more than you can say about almost any book in the fiction world anyway. I mean, there's some classics, of course, but the fact that this woman, in such a sincere heart and such a love for the Lord, wrote this story to to talk about her hero in many ways, and that it's still around is I think God breathed that he's on the story.
Yeah, it's very true.
And share.
Yeah. So you and I have had a few interesting emails, just kind of talking about how you have just felt like this book has been incredibly impactful on the publishing industry as a whole and on Christian fiction. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I feel like, again, Cynthia and even Katherine and Suzanne and Kim all kind of addressed that, how this book kind of paved the way for us to write from a Christian worldview. It's not like over the head evangelist book, but it talked about, let's write about Christianity. Let's write about how God can change our lives. Let's learn about how we overcome with spiritual truths. And then just her whole life, we can see that her whole life was about loving the Lord and about growing in him and about leaning on the Holy Spirit, about being women and men of prayer. And so I love that she paved the way for us. When I saw Christy as a young woman, I wanted to write that book. I wanted to write the Little House books, and I wanted to write a book like Christy. And then Jeanette Oak comes along and starts, kind of takes it to the next level as far as the commercial end of Christian fiction. But thank goodness for Katherine Marshall answering the call to write a book that God put on her heart. And I'm researching it. I mean, she started researching in 1958, I think I saw. It doesn't get published till 1967. I mean, most of us are beating our head against the wall, like, I'm not published yet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I think she had a calling. I am what I call a working author. It's my job. It's how I get paid. It's my ministry. It's my calling. It's my love. And so, but I write largely to earn a paycheck, as well as tell stories that I hope change people's lives. But her patience is astounding and to be admired.
That's very true. And don't you wonder too what kind of doubts she might have had writing the book, and even after it was published, if she thought, what are people going to think of this? Are they going to judge me for having a certain worldview that comes across in this book? I don't know. I think that would be interesting.
The world in 1967, or at least America, was a little bit more receptive.
It's true.
The worldview than it is today. But I'm sure writers, it's impossible for writers not to have doubts. I mean, if a writer tells me they don't have doubts, they're not writing. So, I feel like, but I think the other thing that she challenged me as I think about this, and challenged some of us as authors, is to write books that are reflective of our society. And there's been a lot of conversation lately in the publishing world about writing books that reflect our society and the things that are going on in society. But I think that's one of the things she did with both Christy and Julie. She looked at a period of time and she put a character right in the middle of whatever was going on in society. And she didn't shy away from prejudice, and she didn't shy away from hard situations. She didn't shy away from putting her characters through situations that were uncomfortable. And to me, that's a real challenge, is like, how am I reflecting society today in the stories that I'm telling, but still being true to who I am and who God's called me to be.
Right. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Rachel. And we really appreciate it so much. Yeah, of course. And I'm going to pop you off screen.
All right. Good night.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. So yeah, if you guys would just take a couple of minutes to say thank you to all the authors who have been so gracious to volunteer their time tonight to come talk about, such a wonderful book that has had an impact across a few generations at this point. Just give them a shout out, say thank you for coming tonight. And on behalf of Gilead and Litfuse, to Kim, Suzanne, Cynthia, Rachel, and who am I forgetting? Katherine. Yes, of course. Thank you all so much for being here today. We just so appreciate it. And thank you all so much for coming to tonight's party. And we are just so thankful for everyone who's shown up and commented and who has participated and stuck with us throughout the past hour or so. Before you guys go, though, we have really big news from Gilead. They are re-releasing Katherine Marshall's Julie, which you guys have heard A few authors mentioned tonight that they have read that book and loved it just as much as they loved Christy. And so you guys have to see the cover of this. It's truly, truly beautiful. I'm going to post it in the comment section. I'm just going to post the Amazon link to it because that's kind of the easiest way to go take a look at the cover. But you guys need to at least go check out the cover. It's truly beautiful, and I think you guys will like it a lot. So all of the winners from tonight, whether you won a copy of the book or maybe you won the trivia contest or something like that, all of those winners can be found over at the Litfuse blog. And I'm not sure if the blog post is up quite yet, but we will have it live soon. And I'll just go ahead and post that link as well over there so that you can claim your prize if you happen to win one tonight. Yeah, getting some great comments about the new cover for Julie, so that's exciting. So after you finish reading Christy, you all need to make sure that you put Julie on your must-read list as well. Also, I wish I had a drum roll app or something like that I could add that sound to this live Facebook party. But tonight's two big grand prize winners are, that was terrible, Jessica Miller and Colleen Mall. So you will be receiving a copy of Christy and also a $50 Visa cash card to celebrate the book's 50th anniversary. And again, instructions on how to claim those prizes and all prizes tonight can be found on the Litfuse blog. And don't forget, if you're interested in learning more about Christy, you can go to www.christybook.com. There's some great information up there, as well as a free map of Cutter's Gap if you are interested in that resource. It's a fun family one too if you happen to be reading it with a member of your family and want, you know, a visual. So it's great. But thank you guys again so much for tuning in tonight. And I hope that you all have a wonderful evening and also a great holiday season. Thank you again, and bye.